is my first video, so hopefully my shittest, knock on wood. Basically, people said if you want to make a YouTube series, find a niche of something you're really interested in and hone in on that so you get like the search algorithm optimized. And I was like, that sounds dumb because I don't have one thing I'm interested in. I feel like my biggest challenge is that I'm interested in not everything, but a lot of things. So my niche is general interest. And so my goal, basically I get fed up with how stale my recommended videos become. So my goal is to help solve that problem for you guys by recommending a big variety of videos that you probably aren't coming across all of them on your own, so that you can freshen up that recommended list for yourself. There's no particular order to the videos, so you can just skip down to the description if you want to see what I'll be talking about. Sometimes it'll be nerdy sciencey stuff, sometimes it'll be silly entertaining stuff. Today I was aiming for 10 videos, but I lost count and I got 11. So let's get started. Number one, this is a video about PETA. I think it's people eating tasty animals. It stands for something like that. And I've been noticing on Reddit and other internet sites for the past week or two that they are just getting so much hate. And I didn't really understand why. Like, I know who they are and what they do, and I don't really have a problem with them. So I was sort of surprised. Anyway, this video is satirical, but it basically explains all the crazy stunts, publicity stunts that they've been caught pulling lately. Yeah, I don't really need to say much more about it. Check it out. It's just a couple minutes and it's very funny. Number two, trap music in China. Okay, so I'm really interested in Mandarin as a language, and I'm also really into hip-hop music. Anyone who knows me will know that for sure. So this is a really interesting combination of my interests because it is rap music in Mandarin. It also has a brief cameo from MaSiWei, who is a member of Higher Brothers, which is probably my favorite Chinese hip-hop group at the moment. If you are not familiar with them, just keep watching my channel because you will be soon. In the meantime, check out their video Made in China. It's a really entertaining music video, and these guys just kill it. They have an American rapper on for the last verse, and it's like, why didn't you guys just go another verse? You guys are awesome. Okay, so number three, I'm calling Stoner Fail. Check it out. It's just a couple minutes long. What really makes this one crazy to me is I don't know if it's totally scripted or if it's actually like really happened. Essentially the synopsis is there's this guy who like wants you to think that he's like a mad stoner, bro. But every time he gets past the joint, he just kind of waves it around like he's doing something, kind of like an anorexic girl moving food around her plate. And then without smoking it, he passes it back. Anyway, terrible accent. So he basically gets followed around in this video by someone who's trying to get him stoned. And it's got a pretty ironic ending. Anyway, as I said, I don't know if it's real, but I choose to believe it is because that's hilarious. Number four. Comes from Fairbairn Films, which is some brothers from South Australia that just make really ridiculous videos. I actually was put on to them by my Nepalese employee, and I was a bit uncertain what to expect, but I have a high tolerance for that kind of goofiness. Anyway, this video is their expose, their investigative journalism into the conspiracy that Australia might not actually exist. I'll let the video speak for itself. Number five is really cool. So I'm really interested in animals. I'm really interested in communication. I'm really interested in technology and artificial intelligence. And this is a combination of all of them. So basically, there's a team of people who do rat behavior research. And it's been known for a long time that rats communicate in frequencies we can't hear, really high-pitched ultrasonic frequencies. And it's been believed that there's probably a lot of clues about what they're thinking and how they're feeling in these high-frequency squeaks. So researchers have been recording these noises, and then it takes them like 10 times as long to go through the recording as the recording is. So if the recording is 10 minutes, it's going to take them 100 minutes to go through it. And basically what they're doing is they're finding all these squeaks, they're categorizing them based on their shape in the way that they're graphed. In the audio recording, and then they're making this map which shows like all sorts of similar squeaks that appear to be occurring in similar circumstances. Anyway, the big breakthrough and the reason that deep squeak is in the title here is these researchers are now using deep learning, which is an AI approach to automate all of this painstaking work. So they can take hours of recordings, and then within seconds, this algorithm goes through, finds all the ultrasonic rat noises, and plots them on this big map. The long-term vision here is pretty easy to predict. Basically, what they're going for is they want to be able to decode rat communication. But, you know, I get excited about these sorts of things, and I think, oh, well, if you can decode rat communication, you can probably decode dolphin squeaks. You can probably decode bird calls. In fact, why limit it to sounds? Maybe you can decode the body language of animals. Maybe you could decode the body language of humans. Maybe you could decode the body language of cats and dogs. So you could have an app on your phone and like point it at your dog, and it will translate for you, I want food, or I want to go for a walk, or scratch my butt, you know, whatever. So check out this video. It's pretty interesting, and it's just, I found it really inspiring, the way that technology is being applied to things that I never would have thought of myself. All right, number 6 is a video by Juice Media. They put out these really short videos that basically are criticizing the Australian government. They're called honest government ads. Basically, Juice Media takes no prisoners, unlike the Australian government, which is the point they're making in this video about Australia's treatment of asylum seekers. I'm not going to go too much into the details. Anyone who knows me knows how I personally feel on the matter, but check out the video. Essentially, there's some concern that the Liberal Party, who is up for re-election, is likely, or the possibility exists that they may fabricate a humanitarian disaster in order to get votes. And this is actually based on something that they did about 10 years ago. So there is a precedent set, and this is just a funny video. It's not a serious expose or anything, but it's so on point, just like all of Juice Media's stuff is. Number 7 is a video by Nature about a new discovery in human anatomy. I actually remember a few years ago, I was having an argument with some of my friends about whether human anatomy is a living field or a dead field, in the sense of like, was there more to discover, or had it all been found? Like, obviously we don't know all the intricacies of how the human body works, but maybe we know all the parts, we just don't know yet exactly how they're interacting. But since that argument, for the record, we decided that there were no new discoveries to be had. Since that argument, every 6 months to a year, there is a new discovery. So I remember there was like a new ligament was found in the human knee, and then this new interstitial organ was found that could never have been observed in cadavers, because when the body is dehydrated, these structures become too small to see. Anyway, so this video is about blood vessels in bones. We've known for a long time that red blood cells are created in bone marrow, but the precise way that they get from inside the bone to the bloodstream was never really clear. So we've suspected for a long time that there are really, really, really tiny blood vessels. And that's what this team was able to observe and document for the first time. And they've used some really interesting techniques to do it, like taking a mouse leg bone and essentially turning it transparent so that they could run fluids through it and see what they did. And once they were able to find these structures in the mouse bone, they were able to go and take an MRI of a human leg bone and observe the structures there, which sort of raises a bit of a question of why this wasn't found sooner, but you know, it's found now. Today's 8th video is called The Wild West of American Innovation, and it's a, I think Bloomberg, some big publication has this series called Hello World, and this one is looking at different innovators and inventors who are not part of the big companies. Actually, that's not true. They look a bit at Virgin Galactic, but basically people who are doing really out-of-the-box things. So one thing that's cool about this video is it's a couple years old, so you can listen to all the visions that these guys have, and then you can be like, well, how much of that has transpired at this point? And a couple of them had done surprisingly little since the video. So one of the coolest ones is this guy who has this idea for a flying motorbike. And he's got a flying vehicle and he's got a motorbike, and he was like, yeah, I just need to find a way to combine these designs. And the way it seemed in the video was, oh, okay, this is actually going to happen in the next year or so. But as I say, it's been a couple of years, and checking out his website, it still looks like he's at the same stage with a flying vehicle and a motorbike, and they're still not combined. But it would be really cool if that changed. Also, there was an interesting bit about a kid, like a really smart kid, who had taken his own car and retrofitted it to be self-driving. But you know, he doesn't seem to have done much with that in the past couple of years. So obviously self-driving cars are a challenge even for super genius kids from San Francisco. The most inspiring part of this video for me was this team of college student rocketeers who launched the first rocket with a 3D printed engine. Anyone who knows me probably knows that I have a big rocketry project going on with one of my students, so I found this particular part of the video really interesting and inspiring as well. Okay, so video number 9 is The Big Les Show. It's their Truma Island 3 movie called Denouement. Basically tying up all the loose ends and ending The Big Les Show for good. I didn't really want to include The Big Les Show in the first episode because you'll probably have just lost all respect for me. But because the last episode came out over a month ago, I felt like, might as well get it over with and actually talk about it right now. This movie is a classic piece of Australiana. You should probably go back and watch The Big Les Show first if you haven't yet. But the movie's an hour long and everything leading up to it's probably only 3 hours in total. So it's definitely something you can accomplish with a bit of effort. There's also the Mike Nolan Show. Again, classic Australiana. Actually takes place prior to the events of the Big Les Show. So that's something else that you can watch. You can just jump straight into that. You don't have to watch any background. But obviously, to understand why Mike Nolan's such a classic character, it's also worth checking out the Big Les Show. Okay, so yeah, check that out. If you haven't seen that, you're not Australian. Number 10, non-Euclidean geometry in virtual reality. Okay, so in our normal reality, there's a type of geometry called Euclidean geometry, named after Euclid, who set out like some of the foundational rules that we use to investigate it. And Euclidean geometry is basically the geometry of the world we're used to. But I can give you some really quick examples of where Euclidean geometry breaks down. So if you put a square onto a piece of paper, this is Euclidean geometry. The corners of the square are right angles with 90 degrees and the sides of the square are straight and parallel. Now, if you were to draw a square onto the surface of a sphere, you would find that the corners would not be 90 degrees and the sides would not be straight or parallel. So the surface of a sphere is an example of non-Euclidean geometry. In this video, I'm not going to really explain what they do. You should check it out yourself. You don't even have to watch the whole video to get a sense of how weird it is. But essentially, they've established a non-Euclidean space in an HTC Vive application, and they are just walking around it, and you can see what the guy sees in the space and what the guy's doing in the physical world. And it's really interesting to see how you can do things so unexpected with mathematics in virtual reality. And I'm really excited to see this applied to some games. I can see franchises like Portal or other really problem-solving type game franchises doing some really creative stuff with some non-Euclidean geometry. Also, this video has a bunch of YouTube maths video heavyweights, so check it out for that reason as well. My favorite math YouTuber, Vihart, features in it. I had never actually seen more than her hands before. You'll understand if you've seen her videos. Yeah, it was kind of funny to see the face of my idol for, the first time. Okay, so this is a clip by Richard Feynman, who is a really famous quantum physicist from the 20th century. He's sort of the person thought to, above all other people, have actually understood quantum physics. He's also credited with the phrase, anyone who says they understand quantum physics doesn't actually understand quantum physics. So it's that kind of understanding. But this video is really interesting. He's been asked to explain why magnets have these properties such that they can appear to attract or repel each other. And basically, because the person asking the question is not a physicist, he's only able to give a really superficial answer. And so, in fact, what he does instead is he gives a long explanation of why he can only give a superficial answer. And in fact, it's an interesting explanation both of how it works, that kids can play the why question game where every answer gets asked another why, and also how to resolve that problem. And the short answer is that when trying to explain electromagnetism to someone who doesn't understand physics, you simply have to stop at a level of explanation that's probably not satisfying, because if you continue beyond their understanding of how physics works, you just end up in this downward spiral of why, and it really never gets to a satisfying endpoint. All right, if you're still watching, thank you so much. I promise my videos in the future should be better. I promise they should be better. Okay, well that's not hard to promise. Basically, you know, if you've enjoyed any of these videos, let me know. Let me know which ones you enjoyed so I can include more of that sort of content. If you have any videos that you think I might enjoy, send them through. Let me freshen up my own recommended feed. I would love that. And if it's a really good video, you might even see me talking about it next week. Do all those things YouTubers do. Like, subscribe, insult me in the comments, all that good stuff. And next video, next week. Till then, have a good one.